When it comes to traditional bolt-action rifles, most of the time all you gotta do in order to be able to clean and service it is to simply take out the bolt. But sometimes, for example, if you buy the gun new and it is still caked in cosmoline, or you want to inspect it, get yourself familiar with the gun, or if you need to exchange any parts, any internal parts on the gun, you will have to be able to disassemble this gun further. And how to do that, I'm going to show you in this video. As always, we need to first make sure that the magazine and the chamber are empty. Now we'll have to cock the action by closing the bolt, and then we can flip the safety in the middle position, and by pulling the action stop to the left we can take out the bolt. Now we'll unscrew the cleaning rod. And now we can place the gun bottom up in a padded vise. Next, we use a hard object to push down on the barrel band springs and remove the barrel bands. Be careful not to slip and scratch the finish of your gun. Next, we have to lift up the sight so we can rotate the handguard around it and take it off. Now we can take out the action screws. Make sure that your turn screw fits the screws well, otherwise you could damage the screw heads and diminish the value of your gun and make it harder to take it apart in future times. Now we can pull the barreled action from the stock and push the magazine with the integrated trigger guard out the bottom. Next we can remove the trigger assembly. First we need to push out this pin. That lets us take out the whole assembly. Make sure to put your parts into a little tray as to not lose them. Now you can push out the other pin, which allows you to take out the trigger. And also make sure you don't lose these parts. Next, we can simply unscrew the action stop with the integrated ejector. There you go, that's the ejector. And next we can carefully drift out the pin that holds the rear sight in place. This can be a bit tricky because it is under spring tension. But once it's out, you can just easily pull off the rear side. Now you can put the barrel in this way. And drive out the side spring. You could also drive out the front side, but I'm not going to show that on video now because otherwise I would have to zero my rifle again. To take the magazine apart, we first have to punch out the floor plate catch pin, like this. And now you can punch out the floor plate catch. This is spring loaded, so don't lose these parts. And now you have to push the floor plate towards the trigger guard, and now you can lift out the floor plate, the magazine spring and the follower, and you can just pull out the spring out of the floor plate and the follower, like this. That's your magazine stripped. To disassemble the bolt, you first need to unscrew the firing pin assembly, and then you need to press the firing pin on a firm but padded surface and press down on the bolt sleeve. That allows you to rotate the caulking piece a quarter turn and take it off. Now you can take it apart, and you can also remove the safety catch. And in order to remove the extractor, you have to rotate it over that little vent hole there, and then you can push it off of the bolt body like this. And to put it back together, you just put the extractor back on the extractor ring like this, and by pressing up and back you can slide it back into position and now rotate it back to where it was. Next, you put the spring back onto the firing pin, put the safety catch back into the bolt sleeve, then put the firing pin again against this firm surface and push down the bolt sleeve to expose that keyed section, and put your caulking piece over there, and then rotate it a quarter turn back into position, like this. And now you can just screw the assembly back into the bolt housing, and that's it. To put the magazine back together, you put the magazine spring into the floor plate with that side that has the hole punched into it, and then you can also slide it back onto the follower and put it back into position like this. And now put the spring back onto the floor plate catch and put the floor plate catch back and secure it in place with this pin. Like this. And that's your magazine reassembled. Next, we can put the trigger back into the sear and secure it with the pin. And now put the sear spring back into the sear. And put the firing pin assembly back into the action. This is a bit tricky because you have to compress the sear spring while you drive the pin back through the hole. The hammer is of course too big for that, so what I do is I use the back side of my punch to tap it into place first. And once it holds, I'm just using my punch to hammer it back into position. like this. Trigger works again. Now we can put the action stop with the extractor back into place, just by simply putting it on there and putting the screw back in. Very easy. That works again too. Next we'll slide back the rear side spring and tap it back into position, being careful not to damage anything. And now we'll have to compress the spring in order to be able to put the pin back, and you need to be a bit careful in doing this so you don't damage anything, but I find that it works pretty well in the vise like this. And you want to be a bit patient and make sure that you're properly aligned, so you're not just mushrooming over your pin and damage your whole rear side. But this one goes in smooth, and that's it. Rear side back installed. Also works like it should. And now we can put the magazine and the barreled action back into the stock. The magazine from the bottom, like this, and now the barreled action from the top. Make sure the follower fits into the action, and then everything should snap into place. And now we can put it back into the vise, bottom up, and put back the action screws. Again, make sure you don't slip and damage the bluing or strip the screw heads. You want to make them tight, but you also don't want to strip them off, so make sure to just make them tight enough. This should be enough. This one could go a little bit further, like this, and that's all it needs. Now we can flip the rifle around, and now we can rotate the handguard over the side and put it into the handguard ring at the back, and then just plug it down. And we need to flip the rifle another time. And now we'll have to depress the barrel band springs again. The rear one is really tight. I have to use a screwdriver for that. Be careful not to scratch anything doing that or even hurt you. Now it snaps into place, and the front one can actually be depressed with your thumb, and it will snap into place like this. Now we can put back the bolt. And also screw the cleaning rod back into the stock. Now we can test it for function with some snap caps. I load them into the magazine. They feed well. The trigger works again. And the safety in the middle position should disable the trigger, but allow the bolt to be opened. And in the right hand position it should disable the trigger and the bolt. But now, on the left, it will fire again, and it also extracts the cases perfectly. Very nice. Thanks for watching.